Hey YouTube, this is my review of the DTW M4 RIS. Pretty good training weapon. There's a couple little issues here or there that I'll go through and do a couple recommendations on how to fix for you. The DTW TWs come with a couple of neat accessories. It does come with a full-length extension to make this a full-length 14.5-inch M4. Comes with a Knight's Armament knock-off grip, and not currently on the gun right now because I have the G&P laser unit on here, but it also comes with Knight Armament's knockoff rail covers as well. So a few things that I highly advise you guys do when you get this gun, and this kind of goes in line with most training weapons. What I did was with the motor. This is actually, seems what people say is this is actually the best stock motor out there. I don't know the truth of that. It seems to work very well. You definitely want to break that in underwater. There's a couple of videos out there. I believe there's a post on Ohio Airsoft with how to do that. It's essentially you removing the motor, taking like a sub 6-volt battery, and running it underwater. Really cleans up and shapes the brushes, pulls all the garbage out of the motor from the manufacturing process, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. The advantages of that are the motor can turn at a greater speed. It seems to last longer from what I hear. This is going through all radio-controlled industry, everything. Everybody seems to like breaking in those motors underwater. Once you get it out of the water, then you clean it with electrics parts cleaner. You can find that at Walmart, whatever you have in the area. It's all relatively the same. Another recommendation is to attach the wires directly to the hoods of the brushes. You can see them there, kind of towards the middle. Generally, some companies use the motor terminals, like you're talking normal AEG type with the push-on connections. They can break. I think people mostly do this from a reliability standpoint. I mean, the odds of you breaking that soldering connection on either side are probably lower than the pins. Supposedly better energy transfer to the motor. I don't know. It does seem to shoot faster, but that's probably with the water break-in, I assume. Really, the only issues that the DTW seems to have is relating to the barrel system itself, including the hop-up. One thing I had to do here to fix the actual barrel, the DTW is 100% compatible with whatever Systema, FCC, Celsius, whatever barrels and hop-up units you want put in here, but they seem to use a standard AEG barrel that has a separate mount that goes into a Systema-esque hop-up unit. It's not the same thing, so I would recommend a replacement. But you actually have to use one of those brass rings for the hop-up units in like an AEG to actually slip over their inner barrel. It's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of see the separation. Otherwise, this barrel rattles all over the place. Before I started shooting the gun, a common complaint is that there's a lot of extra wiring for the MOSFET unit. I kind of like that because if you blow out a MOSFET, all is required is you splicing in new wires. You don't have to go ahead and rip apart your motor, unsolder that, pull that all apart, pull the whole lower part, etc. One thing I did notice, I just did this as I was recording the video, the connector for the control board, the wires are pretty darn flimsy. So what I ended up doing there was taking a piece of shrink tubing, put it over that, and then zipped it real well. This does have a lot of pull on it, because as you're adjusting the stock or putting batteries in here, which you can't really put down the stock tube, obviously, because look at the size of this freaking thing, but you have to use the side tubes. But it does have a lot of pull on it. So I'm like, okay, we need to reinforce that. So add another thing that you need to do to the DTW is adjust that plug a little bit. Okay, got a battery plugged in here to give it a shot. One thing that I didn't notice on the other training weapons I've built, reviewed, shot, is actually, if you can hear that, it makes a noise when you hit the bolt release on here. Which is kind of interesting because it gives you a lot more kind of a tactile audio feedback as to, hey, I actually hit that button, versus I think I hit it when you put a new mag in. Comment below if you've had something that does that. Now, getting back to the barrel system, as you can see here a little bit more clearly, that I have a ring on the end of that barrel, and you can see that's clearly 8mm versus the 10mm that most trending weapon barrels are. It's not at all compatible with anything. I guess if you use a different sleeve, the rest of the unit might be compatible, but I'm not sure. Biggest thing with this is the barrel was stupid dirty. I mean, I spent 45 minutes getting all the crud out of it. So you definitely want to take care of that. Pull the whole unit apart though, because you will have crap get stuck in the hop-up unit, and that kind of defeats the purpose of cleaning the barrel when you're getting the hop-up unit dirty. Biggest issue I had was the hop-up roller in here was so stupid small. What I ended up doing was, let me see if I can turn the light off here, that might make this a little better, or not. The stock roller is the smallest I've ever seen. It's like smaller than, you know, early Systema. What I ended up doing was taking that out and putting on a piece of rubber from, I believe it was 16 gauge wire off of a battery. Kind of similar to that, I would assume, maybe a little smaller, and replace the roller with that. That seemed to work really well. The compression piece, which helps with the hop-up adjustment, toss that and actually use the original roller as the adjustment cushion. That probably seems to work a lot better with this. Stock, I couldn't even get this damn thing to hop 2.5s. It was not happening. Now I'm having trouble, very fine adjustment with over-hopping 3s. So you kind of, sky's the limit now with putting a proper roller in here. A few other random thoughts about it. Cylinders seem really well made. From what I've heard, they're all compatible, interchangeable. I mean, you get these for 50 or 60 bucks versus, you know, PTW cylinder, which will run you 160. I mean, spending 160 bucks for an M90 cylinder is a little ridiculous. So, getting if you have a PTW or CTW, 60 bucks for like an M90 cylinder or whatever sort of cylinder you want is probably a better idea. From what I've heard, I don't have another training weapon to test this with at this point. They're all exchangeable. So you can put a PTW cylinder in here, put the DTW cylinder in there, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. Not over-lubed at all, thank God. That was the biggest issue with the Systema cylinders, causing crazy chopping issues, was all the excessive amounts of lube. Got one little piece in there, screwed the whole thing up. Gearbox doesn't appear to be over-lubed at all. Definitely want to run something through the eye on the gear to make sure there's no gunk in there. There was a little bit on mine, and that's a major issue with these PTWs, is when you get crap in there, screws it up.